Hello everyone, welcome to the maiden edition of Center Stage Podcast. In this podcast, we'll be taking you through a series of thought-provoking, inspiring conversations. Would like you to join us, enjoy, and take something away from this podcast. So today we'll be talking about that tiny mosquito and the impact it's ravaging in Nigeria. First, I'll start with Augustina Obiageli Uzomah. She's here today because she's had a personal experience with malaria and with mosquitoes. And she's here to share that experience with us. And then sitting next to her, he has a special title. I won't tell you what that is. But for those of you listening and watching, he's Dr. Edet, ECPO, and he's from the Center for Communication and Social Impact. And he's also here to share his technical side of malaria and its impact. And my name is Baba Funke Fagbemi. For this podcast, you can call me Auntie Funke. I think that's a name that I'm really well known by. So let's jump into this conversation with you, Dr. Edet. Sometimes we think everybody knows what we know about malaria, and it might not be true. And it is not true, actually. So what do you want us to know about malaria?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Very quickly, I'd like to say that malaria is a serious public health problem that we are facing today as a country and globally. We have so many cases of malaria in Nigeria today, about 68 million, and that's a very large number. So if we think at it as...
Did you say 68?
Yes. Wow. So if we think of that data as just data, we may miss it, but those are actually lives, people who are affected by malaria. And just recently, we got the report that we've had like 194,000 deaths from malaria. So malaria is actually killing a lot of people in Nigeria. And that is why this is a serious public health disease that should be talked about, you know. And malaria can be uncomplicated, and it can also be complicated. That's what we call severe malaria. So in the uncomplicated cases, people may just experience non-specific symptoms like headache, body pains. They may develop a fever that is, you know, not so high, but occasionally, you know, it just comes and goes. You know, so those are some of the symptoms of malaria, and these can also happen in other conditions. Okay, so for the severe cases, people can develop very high-grade fever, and in children, we could have convulsion, you know, where the children are jerking and bringing out some foamy things from the mouth. And people can even become unconscious. It gets even worse for pregnant women, you know, because they are carrying a human inside of them.
Or humans.
Yes, or humans, yeah. So besides the mother, the unborn baby can also have complications from malaria. And that is why it's important that we do something about it. It's important that mothers take steps to prevent themselves from developing complications of malaria. Maybe just to mention so that the public knows exactly how dangerous this can be in pregnancy. Because of malaria, people could have miscarriages. They could lose their baby. They could carry the baby up to term, but the baby dies inside the womb. You know, and then they could give birth to babies that have a very small weight. You know, when you give birth to those babies and you see they are very tiny, that could have been as a result of malaria. And then even after birth, they could have yellowish discoloration of the eye, what we call jaundice. So malaria is a big problem, and we really need to tackle it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Edet. And I felt a connection with you when you were talking about malaria and pregnancy. And I know Obiageli Augustina, she's here today because she had a very, very real experience with malaria. And until we share the stories, people will still continue to think, oh, malaria is just ordinary fever. I mean, it's just ordinary fever. And I remember growing up, my mother's mother, my maternal grandmother, bless her soul, she always told us, don't go and play in the sun, because when you play in the sun, you come back, you're going to have malaria. And in my language, they call malaria Iba. You are going to have Iba because you've been playing in the sun, and we now know that is really not true. So, Augustina, would you want to share your story so that the audience can really understand how important it is to be able to protect oneself from malaria?
Thanks for having me. I'll start like this. In 2018, when I was pregnant with my last child, I went to the market. A day like this, I went to the market. Hale and hearty, I went to the market. All of a sudden, I started shivering. And when I got home, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't help myself. I was shaking and shivering. So I had to call my neighbor to help me out. So when she came, I told her what was going on, and she helped out by first of all covering me because I was shivering. It was this cold, yeah. So she covered me, and I put a call across to my husband, and I told him, he said this must be malaria because I've had something like that before, my previous pregnancy. I said, okay, what do we do? He said I should get Fancida first of all for first aid, just to, before we can go to the hospital. So I took the Fancida, and after a while, like 45 to 1 hour, everything was calm. So we now went for test, and it was confirmed that I had high malaria, about two pluses.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was how we started treatment. During that shivering, my fear then was my baby.
Wow. Not even yourself?
Not me, because I was scared of losing my baby. Malaria can cause miscarriage. You can miscarry that baby if not well handled. You understand? So that was my fear then. But thank God it was handled and I was treated. And by the grace of God, the baby came out well. To the glory of God.
Thank God that you had a very good outcome. But for a lot of people, it doesn't really have that kind of ending. As a doctor, have you had any experience where maybe the patient even almost lost their lives, or maybe the patient actually lost their lives? And how did that make you feel?
I've always talked about this when it comes up. There was one private hospital that I was working in, some years back while I was fully in clinical practice, and we had a family bring a child. I think she was between 5 to 7 years of age. I'm not so sure I remember the specific age, but she was brought in with very high fever. We had a temperature reading for her within the short time that we received her, and it was between about 38.5 to 40.2. And for those who know about temperature recordings, you would know that that's really high.
So the normal temperature is what, 36?
Yeah, it should be 36.5. Anything between 36.5, 37.2 or 37.4, depending on if it's adult or a child, But anything that goes beyond 37.5 really calls for concern. And this is a case where we had up to 40.2. And now we had taken samples, sent to the lab for tests. Of course, when they come in, we evaluate for other conditions. So we asked for a malaria test, full blood count, and the rest. The malaria came out, of course, showing that she had very high, many parasites actually in her blood. And we already started on treatment while awaiting the test result. It was confirmed to be a severe case of malaria. And we had started the treatment for severe malaria. And then I was back in the consulting room, only to hear, scream, the family members screaming. I mean, that is not one of the things you want to face as a medical doctor, and that really touched me. So we went up, so we rushed upstairs and, found that the child was, dead. We checked for all the signs to be sure she's actually, gone, and she was in fact gone. And that touched me a lot because this is something that really could have been prevented. And that's a big problem that we're having today. You experience fever or body pains and all of that. As soon as you experience that, you're supposed to go to a health facility for tests, But a lot of people don't think it is important to do so, and so they present late. So the problem then was that they presented late, and there was nothing we could have done. Just to let the public understand that what we call uncomplicated malaria can actually quickly progress to severe malaria within 24 hours, just one day. And so if we do nothing about it, you can lose the child. And that's why this condition called malaria is a big problem, especially for children under the age of 5 years. So each time I remember that, it makes me feel really bad, because that is one death that could have been prevented, and there are many more out there that we don't know about.
So Augustina, I need to congratulate you. You made it that time. Some of the things that you did or that were advised or counseled you were not actually the right thing. So just because of the audience, there's no first aid in malaria once you've had it. Doctor, Abi? Absolutely. Once you have malaria, it is test and treatment. Now, in those days, they used to give Fansida as preventive. Even right now, without being pregnant, I remember when I was younger, we would use Fansida, they say, to prevent malaria. But right now, as a pregnant woman, it's called the IPT, right? And you use it a number of times, he will tell us, while you are pregnant, to prevent, so that we don't need to wait until we get to that point where we are shaking. Honestly, I tell you, you were lucky. Many women don't have that same outcome. So sometimes we just make this mosquito, and it's that tiny little thing, tiny little insect, we just make it seem as if it's nothing. But we need to let the public know that every fever is not malaria. I remember we keep saying these messages, every fever. I might just have an exam, and I'm just apprehensive. I might have fever. It's not malaria. So let's stop medicating ourselves, just buying the drugs. Let's do the right thing. So Dr. Edet, what would you tell the woman who is out there on the streets, who feels healthcare is beyond her access? She doesn't have the money, to go to a hospital. She doesn't know where her nearest primary health care center is, but she doesn't want her child to die. And the child might be experiencing what might be malaria.
So thank you so much for that question. So maybe I should start by saying that husbands, families really need to support mothers, especially when they have a child that is ill and requires hospital attention, medical attention. Before now, people thought that malaria could only, or their health problems could only be solved at secondary and tertiary health facilities. But malaria can actually be tested and treated in primary health facilities. And these facilities are very close to community members, So the issues about, most of them are even so proximal, so you don't have to bother about distance and all of that. And the test for malaria is pretty simple, pretty cheap. You don't have to spend too much for that. So I'd want to encourage, first, caregivers of children under 5 to ensure that once their children develop symptoms that, any symptom at all, your first decision should be that you should take that child to the hospital. Our host has just explained to us that not all fever, is malaria. Fever is just a symptom, and that occurs in so many conditions. So what we would advise is, if your child has a fever, your child is vomiting, not eating well, anything at all that concerns you, please go to the nearest health facility and have that child receive the care that he or she requires. And maybe to say that the best time to take care of your children is to take care of them when you are pregnant, and I think it's safe to, use this medium to advise pregnant women to register early for antenatal classes or antenatal services. It's important to do that because it's a comprehensive service. They will give you all the attention you need, do all the tests you need to do, including malaria tests. And it's also important for pregnant women to ensure they attend antenatal classes. Now, during this antenatal, one of the things that we do, health providers do, is to give mothers what we call intermittent preventive treatment for malaria. And we had mentioned it earlier. In those days, the drug that was given, I think it's just 3 drugs that you take. They call it intermittent preventive treatment, and it was popularly called Fancida then, but now it goes by many other names. You know, the health facility knows what exactly they should give to you. And that treatment starts after the first trimester, the first 3 months, mostly after 13 weeks of pregnancy, after which they give it every month until you deliver. And now it's important that you take this preventive medicine to protect you and to protect your unborn child. And now we've stressed so many times, we've even given you a true life story of a pregnant woman who almost lost her baby due to malaria. So I'm not sure you want that for your baby. I'm not sure husbands want that for their unborn babies. So please, let's do the right thing. Let's act now, to end malaria in Nigeria. Thank you.
So thank you, Augustina. Now that you were saved from that very, very touching and what could have been a different outcome, when you were pregnant with your last baby, what advice would you have for mothers who really want to get pregnant and have healthy babies and also have healthy mothers?
Okay. My advice to our parents or our audience is that you sleep under mosquito nets.
Treated mosquito nets.
Treated mosquito nets. And eat well.
Eat well like what now? Tell us. Wow, what should we eat?
Fruits and vegetables.
That's all?
Yeah, I think they help.
Yeah. But you also need to have a balanced diet, Make sure you balance good portions. Yeah.
Eat well.
But fruits and
vegetables. If I say eat well, you eat well.
Yeah.
Take your fruits and vegetables and all that.
Yeah.
Then, if after taking in, make sure you get registered on time.
Registered where? Registered where? Not in police station?
No.
Registered?
Hospital.
Hospital.
Not after 5 months. Because at times you go to the hospital, you see them coming after 5 months. Go immediately you found out that. They will give you dates that you'll be coming. They know when to ask you to come. They know when to start doing 1 or 2 things on you. So go on time, register yourself, and go regularly to your antenatal classes.
And some women will actually register and go to the hospital for antenatal classes. When it's time to deliver, what do? We deliver in the house. No, it's true. And that is still an issue that is affecting the quality of our health outcomes, maternal outcomes, child mortality rates. I mean, I don't know.
Yes, and just to jump right into that, just recently in one of the states where we're implementing, we had a success story about a woman who never believed in hospital, antenatal services and all that. And through our intervention, the mother and, of course, the husband were able to go register for antenatal. And she attended the classes, and which was, so exciting. But unfortunately, she ended up delivering at home. And the complaint was that at that point, they didn't have the finances to go to the hospital, And that's what we're trying to discourage, really. We have a full 9 months to prepare for the delivery of a child. And so it's important that as families, we save, and prepare for that time so that we deliver at the hospital. Now, we've had so many cases where people deliver at home or through traditional birth attendance with so many complications, stillbirth, and with, some funny injuries and all of that. So we're trying to avoid that. It's important that we get our deliveries done at the health facilities.
I know a lot of stakeholders are coming together, to make sure that the members of the public have the correct information, they know exactly what to do, they know the actions to take, and they're just empowered to do the right thing. And even religious institutions, faith-based organizations, they're doing a lot. Mosquitoes don't go on holiday. They come, like I was told yesterday at a very high-level event I went to. They go to the mosque on Fridays. They go to the church on Sundays. They don't even need a visa to come into your homes. Why do we wait for a particular day to celebrate World Malaria Day? What are your thoughts?
So, World Malaria Day, just like every other World Day that is celebrated, to me, should be an everyday action, from individuals and even government, civil society organizations, implementing partners. And we're not supposed to wait for that special day before we intensify or accelerate efforts to end malaria. And so maybe this is a call to our general public, implementing partners, civil society organizations, individuals, to begin to take action now, act now, and let that action be continuous, to end this malaria that is causing so much problem for individuals, families, and for our country, Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you very much. And just to recognize the efforts of the National Malaria Elimination Program, working really hard, with partners, with institutions at the community level, national level, working with systems to eliminate or eradicate malaria. But we are not there yet. Other countries have done it. What is stopping Nigeria? Cape Verde just celebrated their own elimination of malaria. So they're declared and certified malaria-free. And we still have a long way to go. Thank you very much, Augustina, for sharing your story. Thank you so much, Dr. Edet, for telling us all the medical things we need to know about malaria. But really, I think we need to continue, make sure that we are forging ahead and leave the audience with one key message. Maybe one from all of us. I'm going to say mine, and this is mine. Every fever no be malaria. If you feel, say, your body hot small, what is supposed to carry your person, carry your body, go hospital for tests, and there you will get the best treatment. Augustina, what's your message?
My message to all pregnant women out there, as soon as you notice you are pregnant, please get registered and do well to sleep under treated mosquito nets. And
from me to you, malaria kills. I joined the National Malaria Elimination Program and the global health community to urge you to accelerate the fight against malaria for a more equitable world. Thank you.
So everybody, let's play our part. Play your part for a malaria-free Nigeria. And from Augustina, Dr. Edet, and myself, thank you for joining us on this podcast.